Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? There's a lot to talk about. There is a lot to talk about. Okay, let me make sure chat is working, because for some reason it never works straight away when I go live. There we go. Right. Perfect. Hello everyone. Hello. I'll just give it a couple of minutes to wait for everyone to come in. So as usual, you know how we've got to start these streams. Before the stream starts, I'd like to thank my Asban team level patrons, Fallon Cortez and Nathan Gibson. Thank you so much for your support. You know, I've said that and heard that back through editing so many times. I literally know it off by heart, just in the exact same tone and everything. It's how long I've been doing this shit, you know? It's how long it's been going. But yeah, like I said, I just want to make sure everyone has a chance to get in here because I've just gone live. Let's make sure. I think, yeah, okay, yes. Hopefully the stream works perfectly again. Anyway, yes. Hello everyone. So the Giggle just aired, and it's interesting. Oh, sorry, I fucked up my mouse there. Okay, yeah, the Giggle just aired. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. So some people absolutely love it. Some people absolutely hate it. Which is one of those episodes. It's very divisive, especially with the lore, which, you know, the whole bi-regeneration thing leaked months ago. I knew about it months ago, and a lot of people knew about it months ago. So there was always this kind of apprehension going into this story, being like, well, this is probably going to suck because of this idea, similar to the Timeless Children, because that got leaked ahead of time. But then you had a lot of people saying, well, when it's written on paper, it looks really bad, and then in execution it'll be better. I think, personally, as someone who hates how the idea was written on paper, and I was really worried going in, and all the leaks and stuff, I was worried that it was going to be really bad, and I was not looking forward to it one bit. But I think it kind of worked. It wasn't awful. I'm still not a huge fan of it. I just think it worked a lot better than I expected it to do. I thought it was going to be this horrible thing, but it worked a lot better. So much better than I expected going in. So, I mean, we'll get to that towards the end, because that was at the end of the episodes. So, you know, I'll kind of go from the earlier stuff there. I just wanted to preface, because that's the big talking point of this storyline. Everyone is going to be hotly debating that, and whether it was really bad, whether it was really good, whether it was kind of middle. And I just want to kind of specify saying I didn't hate it. Not saying I loved it. I'll get there. So to begin with, let's talk about the Toymaker, played by Neil Patrick Harris, who I was apprehensive going into this episode. I haven't really watched anything he's in, so I didn't really know what to expect, but I think he was quite a fun, campy villain. Like, you know, he really hammed it up. It was very kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It was very exuberant and high energy in like a sinister way. That was fun, because, you know, even back in the original Celestial Toymaker serial, the character was very kind of childish and playful. You know, he threw tantrums when things weren't going his way. So it kind of makes sense for them to dial that aspect up in this and have him really hamming it up and being campy. And I think that worked really well. You know, of course, the standout scene is the whole spice up your life thing. That was obviously kind of like a bit of a callback to Sound of Drums with Voodoo Child by Road Traders, which is actually a really great song. Listen to it. Sorry, chat keeps breaking again. It has broken the second time. There we go. I don't know why it always stops working. But yeah, no, I really loved that scene. That was very goofy. The way people kind of talked about it going in was it was going to be like a musical number. I'm really glad it wasn't a musical number, because, you know, spoilers for Christmas, I don't like musicals unless it's a very select few specific ones. So I'm not going to be a fan of that. But I'm glad this scene wasn't a musical scene. It was just kind of the goofiness of him shitposting basically and dancing around. Well, yeah, I can't decide if his sisters was also there. There was two different ones in that finale. Yeah, there was 2 examples of using contemporary. Well, Spice Girls isn't even contemporary pop anymore. It's like 20 years old. So, but yeah. Anyway, I thought that was a really fun scene and a really goofy, bit goofy but sinister and threatening, surreal moment. That was really nice. The toy room scenes I really liked as well. I don't know if it would be toy room or toy shop. I don't know how you describe it, but with all the doors and them getting lost in them, and then the puppets. Okay, so I got a lot of heat on my Wild Blue Yonder review for saying I didn't find it scary. I didn't find the no things or the not things very scary. They were too over the top. And I still stand by that. I still stand by my personal opinion is I didn't really find them a scary monster. But the puppets in this, they were really good. They're a great example of doing goofy scary. You know, that's how you can do unsettling, freaky stuff that doesn't necessarily look John Carpenter or I don't know any other significant horror directors. But yeah, you know, it's not like one of those things you'd see in like an A24 movie. But the puppets were really good. Like, I just think the puppets were really creepy and unsettling. And that's what I kind of wanted. You know, they're not overdoing it, just enjoying it's so hard to describe the difference. This worked for me so much better, especially because I think just the tone was more consistent in this episode. Another thing I liked about those scenes was the kind of recap of what happened to the other companions after Donna. So obviously you have that scene where Doctor and Donna are essentially kidnapped by the Toymaker. He makes them watch this puppet show of what happened after Donna. So, Amy Pond died, Clara died, Bill died, and that's something I really appreciated because I've made a full video on how Moffat can just never let go of his characters. He always finds a way to just eke out a little bit of a gap for them to still live in, you know. Obviously, I think it works for Clara, but not the other 2. Because Clara still has that specific ending, which I'm currently editing my Hellbent review, so that's very fresh on my mind at the moment. But yeah, no, it was just really good that they took that criticism of like Moffat's era and the character, and they made it a character flaw of the Doctor, how he was in denial, you know, every time. You know, it was quite goofy, yeah, when he was doing, oh, well, that's all right then, you know, it's kind of just like, well, they're still dead, you know, yeah, they had these little, like, asterisk endings, but they still died. The Doctor doesn't know where Clara goes. I mean, yeah, he does, because he got his memories back of her, and she goes back to Trap Street, so, you know, he can just, he knows she's dead, because it's a paradox if she didn't die. But anyway, yeah, what I'm saying is that was a really fun scene, just bringing that aspect of the Doctor to light and making a meta-criticism into an actual character flaw. I always appreciate when the show does that. It takes something that people say is a problem and it goes, okay, yeah, we're acknowledging that in universe. So, yeah, that was a really nice scene. I appreciated that. And it was also a good little, you know, just a good little moment to pay homage to that gap between Series 4 and now. So, you know, it was just a nice little catch-up thing for fans. The original setup of the whole world going crazy thing, I like how that was done. It was kind of initially built up as this is the big thing. This is what the episode was about. But then it kind of takes a backseat. You know, it's literally just a small aspect of the story. It's a small aspect of the Toymaker's plan. You know, his main goal is to get to the Doctor. He's just kind of messing with the world. And that was a nice little thing. And obviously it had a little bit of commentary in there, and I think that's a much better way to incorporate comedy than like the ending of the Star Beast, for example. You know, this was a much better way to kind of have that thing being like, hey, look, we're in this world where everyone thinks they're right, and what's her name? Trinity Wells is now like basically an anti-vaxxer and stuff like that. Yeah, so it was a nice little setup to get things going. And yeah, like I said, it was just kind of there to set up the Toymaker, and it had that fun scene at the beginning. And it was kind of nice how they had Kate also a victim of it. You know, when they turn off her protective thing and she starts going on a tirade too, showing that even like protagonists can have hateful ideals baked into them. So that was quite nice. Yeah, I mean, I can assume people are going to be like, oh, I hate how the Doctor stood there lecturing humans for being bad. It's like, the Doctor's done that so many times. He's just done that sometimes. And Davis has done political commentary so many times. I loved the little moment of the Prime Minister just saying, like, yeah, I hate you all. You know, that was fun. That was just a nice little bit. And yeah, like some people were saying, oh, how can Shirley walk? I mean, it's important to remember not everyone that uses a wheelchair is completely like paralyzed. They can have limited, like, they can still use their legs sometimes. You know, not everyone is different. Shirley's clearly someone that has, like, is using a wheelchair but has limited use of her legs here and there. She's not like walking around doing a marathon. She can just occasionally briefly stand up, because some people can do that. I just don't feel like some people are not understanding that there's kind of a spectrum of that. But that's just, yeah, I guess that's what they were going for. It's literally, yeah, you know, kind of that's kind of like what Davis was pointing out with Kate being like, oh, I've seen you walk around. It's this thing of people assuming that every wheelchair user has to permanently be in a wheelchair and can't briefly move around. I mean, why? I mean, I'm not familiar with Ruth Mallory, but like, you know, if she is a disabled woman, I'm sure she knows exactly how much she can walk and stuff like that. So it's just weird that, you know, just because she has limited leg function doesn't mean she can just walk around even with a cane. She needs a wheelchair. So it's just one of those things. But anyway, that's getting sidetracked. What else was I going to talk about? Because most of my notes I've written here are obviously about the ending. And yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, let's just talk about the ending. All right, let's just get to the ending, because that, again, like I said at the beginning, that's just the big thing, the main talking point. So, first of all, we get that climax where, you know, everything seems to be going wrong, and the Doctor is desperate to take the fight to the Toymaker. So then he gets zapped and starts regenerating, and it's like, oh, this big emotional moment. He's got his two companions there helping him through. He's not going to do it alone, like the end of time. It's like a narrative moment, and then it's a fake out, almost exactly like Stolen Earth, Journey's End. And that's my main point of criticism. You can't do the same Doctor faking out twice. You can't do the same actor. You can't do two David Tennant fake out regenerations. That's just a little bit. Just why would you do it with the same actor? It's just like annoying to me. And skipping ahead a little bit to the climax where they're throwing the ball around to defeat the Toymaker. I get why that was working narratively, obviously, because we had the callback to the balls being the oldest game, but then it just kind of looked like a weird, goofy scene. It just didn't quite work for me. The scene, they're just kind of running around throwing a ball at each other, and the whole time I'm thinking, why don't they just throw it off the building, you know? But it just didn't seem like a satisfying climax, just them throwing the ball around. That seemed a little bit weird to me. But obviously that pales in comparison to the main part of it, which was obviously Ncuti Gatwa splitting out of the 14th Doctor, David Tennant's Doctor. So you have the 14th Doctor and the 15th Doctor just splitting out like asexual reproduction. It's like a single cell molecule, or, you know, it's like a molecule splitting basically into two. And like I said at the beginning, I thought this was going to be awful. I really hated the idea, but the execution wasn't awful at the start. Like, the execution wasn't the worst thing, but then it was mainly, if you're using that to end a story, fine. Like brief, like just a quick end of story for them to win, but then, you know, resolve it and have them come back together or something like that. It's just the fact that they stay separate that I don't like, really. It's just like, we have 3 different David Tennant Doctors running around. You know, we have the 10th Doctor, we have the Meta-Crisis Doctor on a parallel Earth, and now we have the 14th Doctor. It's like, why do we need 3? You know, why do we have to have... It's just... I don't like this obsession that Rusty Davies seems to have for David Tennant as the Doctor. You know, he has to be the one that gets all these asterisk regenerations, and he can always cheat death just because the showrunner likes him, and it just seems a bit unfair on all the other Doctors. It's like, oh yeah, well, you know, they had to die, but David Tennant can't. It's just really annoying. It doesn't help the show move past David Tennant. It just makes things worse. It just kind of furthers this into this pit of everyone being like, well, where's David Tennant? And now people can actually say, well, he's here. Why isn't he on screen now rather than this new guy? You know, we had that for like 13 years after 2010 of, where's David Tennant? When's David Tennant coming back? Where's the 10th Doctor? I love the 10th. He was the best one. And now it's just Davis feeding into that more and more by being like, well, yeah, there is one around. He's got his own TARDIS. He can do whatever he wants. And yeah, it's just, I understand what they're going for, where they're like, he has this sweet little ending of finally being to settle down with his companions. That's fine. That is fine. You know, I don't mind that. It's just the fact that they have this weird splitting thing. They could have more expressly specified that he will eventually become 15 again, or he will become the curator, rather than him just being an entirely separate incarnation. It's kind of like a reboot that Disney is. I'm pretty sure they've mentioned that Disney wanted them to essentially reboot everything. And it seems like, from what I've heard, like Disney wanted a harder reboot, but the team managed to negotiate this asterisk, basically. But yeah, what you've basically got is the 1st to 14th Doctors in their own timeline. That's done now. You know, Doctor Who in that, you know, New Who is finished. That's the end of New Who. This was the epilogue. And, you know, 1st to 14th Doctors, their journey's done now. The 15th Doctor onwards, they're like their own separate continuity, it seems, like, because of the bioregeneration thing. And if it's not, you know, if you can point to like the commentary track or the behind the scenes interviews of Davis as being like, oh, this is the truth, you know, that's not the main text. If you don't want people to think that you're splitting the Doctor and the eras of the show like that, you kind of have to have it in the main text, because that lasts longer. So it just annoys me that they're basically saying, yeah, 1 to 14th Doctors, they're done now, and the 15th Doctor plus is their own thing. I feel like you didn't have to split it that harshly, because it just kind of... It also... Wait, so what was that? They do specify... But what point? I didn't catch that bit. What was it? But that's the thing, I didn't see that bit. Well, like, I guess I'll catch that when I rewatch my review, but I didn't see that. I just thought they were just being like, yeah, you know, because I regenerated, now I don't have the baggage because you've got it all and I'm fresh or whatever. You know, I don't know. Like I said, I have to rewatch it. I just going by my initial watch and memory at this point, so I can't remember everything specifically. But even still, I don't like the whole idea of splitting them, that clear divide. And it's also just kind of the optics of it. Like, you have Ncuti Gatwa as this groundbreaking casting for the Doctor, and then you don't make him the actual Doctor and give him a separate TARDIS. And it's just like, you know, like, Davis should know above all else what certain types of fans are going to do with that implication. And I just think you don't want to play into that. States at 100%. Check it out again. I'll go and grab your time. So yeah, please do. I want to be able to see it, because I just want to make sure that I have that right, because I didn't catch anything saying that 14 specifically comes 15th Doctor. Like, and I just feel like if you're gonna have the 14th Doctor retire, don't give him another TARDIS, you know, or let him keep the original one. Like, I just feel like if the whole thing is for him to settle down, then he should have to make the sacrifice of giving up the TARDIS, not just still get one. I think that kind of ending is a little bit annoying, that he doesn't face any consequences for leaving. He can still just do whatever he wants. I feel like, yeah, if you're going to have a Doctor retire, you have them give up the TARDIS, because that's the thing of saying, right, I'm ready to live a normal life now. This is the main reason I can't live a normal life. I am going to say goodbye to this TARDIS. It could have been a really cute character moment, a really sweet character moment, emphasizing this whole thing about leaving. But now he just, what's the saying? You know, eat your cake and have it too, or whatever. You know, it's literally that, where he still gets his own TARDIS, and he can also have his home life, so he can still go off and do whatever he wants. And yeah, it's just, I'm just not a fan of that in like a narrative level with how it handles the Doctor. I feel like everything up to that bioregeneration scene was probably going to be like an 8 out of the 10 for me. But I just think that I just don't like the implications of the bi-regeneration. I'm not mad at it. I'm not one of those people that's going to be screaming about it. Oh, this has killed Doctor Who. The Doctor Who is dead forever. Rip Doctor Who. It's been destroyed. I'm not going to be like one of those people. It's like, I'm not like with the Timeless Children where people were very angry about it. Initially, I was very angry, and that's kind of whatever about it. But I'm not like that. I'm not fuming that this happened. I'm just not a fan of the narrative self-indulgence of it. Can someone please explain bioregeneration? We don't know. It's just a thing Davis came up with and decided to put in his episode. So I guess watch the commentary because he said he'll explain it all in that. But yeah, it's just I don't know if I'm wrong because I haven't seen it myself, but I've seen some stuff basically implying that Davis said that every regeneration is... Oh, sorry, did I get a super chat there? I didn't see. I'm not seeing... Oh, thank you, Andrew Luke. Yeah, no, sorry, I haven't been seeing super chats on my my main overlay here. But yeah, no. God, what was I saying? Yeah, Davis basically, from what I've read, implied that every regeneration has been by regeneration of some sort, so that every Doctor still lives on. And I just think that's the worst thing he could have done with that, because it just devalues every regeneration ever by saying, yeah, no, they're still fine, they still get to do whatever. Yeah, like I do like the idea of like the character person, like the emotional baggage reboot style, clearing all that baggage and moving on without having to worry about the flux or anything like that. That's fine. But then it's just where it's like this overtly extreme with how they handled it. I just don't know. And I would really hate the idea of the 14th Doctor getting a spin-off show. Because, yeah, like... The whole... If the 14th Doctor got a spin-off show, like, that would probably get more attention than Doctor Who going forward, because people will be like, well, this is real Doctor Who. He shouldn't come back. What's the links? I don't know, it's just a thing that's in UNIT, I guess. I think UNIT might be fun for a spin-off, without David Tennant in. Please keep him away from Doctor Who now. He's had plenty of time in Doctor Who. Can he just gracefully bow out like everyone else? Everyone else has to deal with Big Finish while David Tennant gets infinite passes to come back to the main show. UNIT themselves seem like they would be primed for a spin-off. You have your set characters now. You have Kate, you have Shirley, you have generic UNIT man grunt guy whose name I can't remember. You have Mel there. You have Donna can show up whenever. And you got the robot Lynx guy as this canine style thing. So it felt like kind of a backdoor pilot for a UNIT show, which is good if they go that route. That could be fun, because I like the idea of them having this set headquarters again that's not constantly being blown up, and they have all this technology and all these characters. They've done the groundwork for that now, so that would be fun. Where the trousers go with the shirt. Yeah, I guess they wanted to imply that the 14th Doctor basically kept all the clothing, so the 15th Doctor just had to deal with whatever, and they just couldn't have him like full on naked because of obvious reasons. But yeah, it was just weird that they just inexplicably had the 15th Doctor just running around in a shirt and underwear. That was funny, I guess. Maybe not intentionally, but I do find it funny they just didn't acknowledge it as well. Thanks for the £2, Tom Hibbert. What I think of Ncuti is... Yes, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. I loved him. I thought he was really good. He had amazing energy there. So you had pretty much every range of emotions and like ideas that the Doctor does in any given scene. Like, there was a bit of comedy there. He had a bit of drama and seriousness. And then there was that nice scene of him just like hugging the Doctor to let him... the 14th Doctor to let him let go. And, he was very good at giving this crash course as to what his Doctor's going to be like. It's kind of like a teaser. And that was really nice. I thought that was fun. He kind of, got to do everything. And he had that, what was it? Must have been about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of him on screen, which was good. that it was a very nice introduction, and I look forward to what he's doing next on his acting. Yeah, exactly. This is his first instance as the Doctor. No one's perfect. It's also something we've never really seen other actors have to deal with first, having such an extended screen time for their first appearance. That's always kind of a risky move to throw them in like that. Usually, I like when they do the 5th Doctor or 11th Doctor style thing of filming their first episode a little bit later on in the block, so then they've already got a lot of the mannerisms and the character sorted out. Yeah, I'm fine because you fix yourself. Okay. I feel like that's kind of a little bit of a... It's a nice implication. I just wonder if it's too subtle, because I don't think many of us have picked up on that idea of, the you fixing yourself thing. I think I remember when that happened, I think the way I saw it in my head was just emotional. It's like, well, now that we've split, you're the one that goes off to fix yourself, and I'm just fine now that we've split. I didn't read it I didn't read it as the way it's clearly intended, but that's probably just me mishearing it when it first aired. So I guess 14 will become 15. So, that's not too bad. But no, there was that weird master implication, wasn't there? Because it suggested that the Toymaker beat the master and made him in that gold tooth. So at the end, we had a repeat of Last of the Time Lords, where a woman with red fingernails picks up the gold tooth. And I guess that's their way of implying that the master's going to be back again. It was a little bit self-referential, but whatever. It was just one of those things. I'm trying to think of what else I can really focus on. Of course, there was a character that the Toymaker alluded to. That could be anyone. I feel like to go the classic Who route, that could either be the Black Guardian or, Fenric. There are a couple, of higher entities. I wouldn't think it would be the Rani, because there's no way the Toymaker would be scared of the Rani if he's not scared of the Doctor. So it's not going to be another Time Lord, I don't think. It'll be someone above the Time Lords, like an old god or something like that. I believe that the Meep and Toymaker were talking about the same people too. Most likely, it's a tease for what the 15th Doctor is going to deal with. I just don't think it's going to be another Time Lord, because, again, they wouldn't... if they're not scared of the Doctor, they probably wouldn't be scared of another Time Lord. So it'll probably be something higher. I think as an episode, it was a good one. It was probably my favorite of the 3 specials. It didn't have any moments where it really dragged like in the previous 2. It didn't have any moments that really fell flat like the previous 2. I prefer the bi-regeneration thing even to the meta crisis resolution. So it was the best of the 3 for sure. I just feel like the ending is definitely where it stumbles a little bit because of all the weird implications of the bi-regeneration. I'm not looking forward to the Christmas special, mainly because of the musical. I hate musicals, like I said at the beginning. The only musicals I can really vibe with are the Green Day musical. That's pretty much it. Green Day musical, that one bit from Alan Wake 2. And then I don't think there's another musical I really vibe with. So, I'm not going to like the musical number of the Goblin song or whatever. And that's going to feel very weird when I hear that. I'm just not a musical person. Well, I know it's not a musical, but it does have a musical number, which I'm not a fan of at all. I'm going to hate that. But, the episode itself is probably going to be fine. It's going to be whatever. But I'm really trying to think of anything else to say about the episode, because it's one of those, there's so much to say, but there's also like so little to say at the same time, it just kind of like worked. The ending, like I said, the bioregeneration thing was just kind of dumped on us and just made this magical Disney-like ending where it's, oh yeah, no, he's fine, he can just split himself into two. And yeah, I just think that was where it stumbled more, and I just didn't like the extra TARDIS. But everything leading up to that was really fun. It was a bit weird that the whole thing verged on like one satellite. I don't think that's really how it works, but they didn't necessarily say everyone was saved once the satellite went down, so I guess, yeah. No, the Doctor still has two hearts. He's the exact same. He's just basically delayed his regeneration until an off-screen moment where he can magically become the 15th Doctor without David Tennant actually having to regenerate. So it's a little bit, yeah. Thank you for the massive £5, Joe Blundy. Jesus, thank you. I should have already covered it. What I think of 14. Yeah, no, I did cover that a minute ago. There is some point out. There's an implication in there that he does properly regenerate, like he does properly become the 15th Doctor, and I just feel like they could have made that a little bit more obvious, or shown that in some way, or maybe they probably won't down the line. But yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to throw in there out of nowhere, and I wish they would have properly regenerated him. I see Unleashed on Racism Harris's accent. Yeah, until they revealed that he was doing the stereotypical German accent to be bad, I was like, are they just really tone deaf? They're talking about how he's a racist, meanwhile he's doing this thing. But yeah, it was kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I'm not really going to get into all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was subtle enough, him doing all the accents. But yeah, I mean, people complaining about like, oh, the Toymaker's racist now, like at the beginning. Well, I mean, he was racist to begin with, so it's consistent to the character. Okay, no one talking about. Yes, there are goblins in the next episode. Just straight up goblins. I'll be interested to see how that comes out. Davis gave an interview. I think it was an interview or just a statement a couple of days ago or a week ago or whatever, saying that Doctor Who's going to become more fantasy based now. And that was weird. He acted like people expect Doctor Who to be pure science, like sci-fi. It was like, oh, it's going to upset people that consider Doctor Who hard sci-fi. I don't think anyone's considered Doctor Who hard sci-fi since like season 18, when they were talking about things like entropy and block computation and all that kind of stuff. So it's weird to say like, oh, it's going to be. Doctor Who's always been sci-fantasy. It's kind of the point of, especially the modern era. So I think it just means it's going to be even more fantasy based with stuff like goblins, and it's weird. And yeah, Doctor Who literally introduced fairies. Thoughts on the well, that's all right then scene? Yeah, no, I mentioned earlier, I loved that moment. It was acknowledging Moffat's flaws and just being like, oh yeah, no, they're still dead, sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is one of those where I'll have to write my review and see how my thoughts kind of unfold, because there was a moment when I was writing my Wild Blue Yonder video, right? I just want to touch upon this because this was a bit of controversy for the channel, where because I was not a huge fan of Wild Blue Yonder, I had my issues with it, in my personal opinion, and I made a review. And when I was writing my review, I was talking about all the character stuff first, and I was like, oh yeah, no, actually, I think I like this episode now. I think this is really good. And I got back to talking about the CGI, and I was like, actually, no, my opinion is still the same. Oh, thank you for the big £3 super chat. 3 Doctor Story featuring 10-14 Meta Crisis. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to happen at one point. The 3 tenants. It's my worst nightmare. But Big Finish is definitely going to try and do something like that, and it will just be an absolute chaos because we won't be able to see the difference. What was I saying before then? I was talking about how my opinion kind of changed as a writer. So that might happen with this, where the more I write about it and try and break things down and put things into more concrete thoughts, because, you know, I'm not very good at thinking off the top of my head. You know, it's probably why it was a bad idea to do these kind of streams after every episode, because I just end up repeating myself. Statism. But yeah, when I write things down, I formulate my opinion a lot better. And so when I'm talking about the bioregeneration stuff for my actual review, I'm probably going to have a much more concrete opinion on it, because I'll be able to like understand what they were going for better. I'll be able to work out kind of things. Yeah, I don't know. How would I summarize the 60th trilogy as a whole? Ooh, that's tricky. That is tricky. I don't know. How would I summarize the 60th as a whole? Because they're very, very different episodes, all of them. Like, it definitely peaks at the end. Like, the Giggle was definitely best. It kind of like Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, the Giggle, probably like a little, you know, it kind of is up, down a little bit, just a little tiny bit, you know, like that for Wild Blue Yonder, and then up a lot more for the Giggle, because it was a lot more cohesive and satisfying, even with the ending. I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, it was better than what we've had for a while, and that will always be something I want to stress. You know, if you're judging this by Chibnall era standards, they're all masterpieces, but when you judge them on their own merit and compared to everything else, they're solid. They're solid attempts at kind of revitalizing the show, getting people to watch again, but getting people excited about the future. You know, that's kind of what its intention was. It was to get people back, and yeah, in that aspect, they succeeded. I wouldn't necessarily say as a trilogy it felt like a true 60th anniversary of the show. I know not everything's gonna be about, you know, big returns and multi-Doctor stories and everything like that, the 50th. You know, I made my review series going through the classic Doctor anniversary stories, and, you know, 2 of those were multi-Doctor stories, then one of them was just a normal Cyberman story. Sometimes you don't have to go over the top to celebrate the show. So I didn't expect it to have all these crazy returns and everything. So I'm not disappointed that it didn't have those. I just feel like it could have been a little bit more special. Like, yeah, I suppose you make a good point. Was it Eftumshuk? That they did cover most of Doctor Who. They didn't like overdo all the fan wankiness. Like, this was the most anniversary episode of them all. It had a returning villain from the 60s, had a returning companion, and everything like that. But it could have been a little bit, like, the others could have emphasized it. I mentioned it before that I wish Wild Blue Yonder had a new Who villain returning. So then we had an expanded media villain, a new Who villain, and then a classic Who villain back. That could have been a nice, cohesive way to celebrate the wider show. But yeah, I mean, the issue with it being a Series 4 anniversary idea, that's going to happen when you got Davis. It would happen, like, you know, if we got Moffat back, it would be celebrating his era. If we had a new person come in for these, it would have been different. And yeah, and like a lot of people, I've pointed this out myself, 50th is a big anniversary. 60th is a lot less severe. You know, you don't have to do as much for the 60th. I'm kind of happy with what we got. It wasn't going to be this huge thing. I mean, they were 3 specials. We still got that. You know, that's still more than you would usually get for any given year. So yeah, it was just fine. It was, as an anniversary, it was just whatever. They had some perfectly normal anniversary stuff there. And yeah, exactly, that's a good point. Mel actually got to do her computer sciencey stuff instead of just standing there screening. She got more to do, and she was a nice returning face and a nice aspect of the episode. I don't think the 14th Doctor is going to be the Valeyard. I don't think the show's ever going to bother revisiting the Valeyard. The Valeyard just doesn't really make sense as a concept. It was kind of one that they shoehorned in last minute in like season 23. There's no real way for it to make sense, like, because having like, you'll never get like a truly evil version of the Doctor, because just, yes, a lot of fans will want that, but just on a viewership level, it's not really someone you can have. It's not really something you can easily do, because you always have to rehab that character. You can't just easily revisit the Valeyard. It's just something stuck in its era, and it's always going to be like, oh, the Doctor after, like, from this random point in the future is going to be the Valeyard, and they never have to specify that. So it's always something they can just keep like kicking down the road, because it's just not an easy concept to do and not a necessary concept to do. How Doctor was big. Yeah, it's kind of weird when you think about it that we've had what? So we had Eve of the Daleks, Legend of the Sea Devils, Power of the Doctor, Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, The Giggle, Church on Rebooting. That's like, what was that? 7 specials in a row. 7 specials in a row across 2 years. This is wild, isn't it? Like, we haven't had a normal series episode in so long. So many specials in a row, and only a few specials ago we had Power of the Doctor, which had loads of Doctors coming back and everything like that. You know, so it's kind of weird that only a couple of specials ago we had something that a lot of fans expected from this trilogy. So you can just kind of watch those, like watch Power of the Doctor if you want all your, you know, the Master coming back, the Cybermen, the Daleks, all the previous Doctors, loads of previous companions. You know, you can just kind of get that from Power of the Doctor. So it'd be weird to do that again just 3 episodes later. So I understand why there's limits there. How long we have to wait for the Christmas special? I mean, it's on Christmas Day, so do the maths. Regeneration, yeah, I kind of agree. It doesn't feel like, I mean, it kind of does feel like Davis being self-indulgent, but it also does feel very business-driven, and hey, we want this divide, so I'm quite cynical of the change itself. Doctor will see Donna and everyone grow old and die becomes silent. I mean, yes, that's some nice headcanon, but I just don't see it happening. Everyone kind of headcanoned the Meta-Crisis Doctor as becoming the Valeyard. That didn't happen. So, yeah. I do agree that Timeless Children was handled a lot worse than this, so I don't think there's going to be as much of a backlash against this. It's already less contentious than Timeless Children was. But, yeah, it would have... I mean, there were... I mean, I don't know, because it would have been more Davis era celebratoriness, but I just want to see Martha come back at this point. She never really got a chance to return. Like, Rose got a chance, like Billie Piper got to return, Catherine Tate got to return, Free Madgeman still hasn't got to return. It's a shame. Like, wait, when you think about it, the only... Wait. Oh, God, that's kind of awkward, isn't it? The only 2 companions to not, like, return after their exit, you know, up until the Chibnall era, like the modern companions, are Martha and Bill. You know? So you had... Rose came back, not only in Series 4, but Billie Piper came back in Day of the Doctor. Then you got Catherine Tate came back in these specials. Amy came back in Time of the Doctor for that brief little cameo. Clara came back for that brief little cameo in Twice Upon a Time. You know, Martha never really got a chance to come back much later on, like all the others did, which is kind of weird. Kind of weird. Because it was more like immediately after. And then Bill obviously never got a chance because it was so recent. So it's very strange that, you know, it's just a weird coincidence that they're the 2 that never got to come back. Right, well, yeah, no, I mean, up until the Chibnall era, obviously, Chibnall era characters aren't coming back yet, if they are, because they've only just left. gap between Amy leaving and suppose, yeah, but then I guess, yeah, I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? Because it's would have been about a year. Yeah, fair enough. Martha came back in End Time Series 4, I guess, but yeah, true. Yeah, okay. It's just Bill then, I guess, that hasn't been able to return for a last hurrah outside of her own companion era. Well, Bill came back the episode after she left. That doesn't really count. I would like the idea of the 14th Doctor become the curator. That could have been nice. Finally, that would have made me happier. Don't give him the TARDIS. Let him become the curator. Close that plot thread of this is now the curator timeline. That's how that happens. That would have been the logical idea to go. But yeah, I don't know. 14 did the Clara face the Raven bit, and something we'll see in 15 as well. I hope yeah, I do just think they would have just closed, because they just opened up a plot hole of when and why does he become the 15th Doctor, because I don't think we're ever going to get to see that. So yeah, and it is weird, isn't it, that Rose gets her 10th Doctor, Donna gets her 10th Doctor, Martha gets nothing. What I think of Ncuti's performance, yeah, I mentioned earlier, it was a really fun aspect at the end of the episode. I look forward to Ncuti. I've been looking forward to Series 14 onwards more than I was looking forward to these specials, just because I grew up with Tennant. I've rewatched Tennant so many times. I had my time with the 10th Doctor. I didn't need any more. So, as much as I loved Ten and Donna, I didn't need them to come back. So I wasn't hugely hyped for this stuff happening. So I was more excited, for the show to move forward properly and keep trucking on and doing new things with Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson. That's what I'll be more excited for. So, yeah, I'm going to be more excited for Series 14. And I will probably do these kinds of review streams again for those episodes and immediate reviews. Just because I feel like it's a nice way to get my immediate thoughts out there and kind of clarify some stuff. Like here with the 14th Doctor becoming the 15th Doctor eventually, even if the text didn't make it as clear as it could have. Because, yeah, you still have this weirdness with the 14th Doctor having his own TARDIS and his own life. And I do agree with that, Jojo. It is that emotional reset. The Doctor is able to just get rid of stuff like Flux and all the companion departures just off screen. It's just easy to wipe that slate clean. But it's just my issue is how it's wiping everything clean as well. It's just really cutting the show in half and branching it off again and saying, well, New Who's over now. Everything from 9th Doctor to the 14th Doctor, that's the end. Things are moving forward completely separately and with a new tone and everything. It's a weird reboot style thing. And yeah, I don't know about that. I just didn't think it. It's just weird that they decided to do a reboot with a year between episodes, because there was a big span of time between Classic Who and Series 1. That was a very big span of time there. I know you had the movie, but that didn't have a huge... Oh, thank you for the £2 super chat, Kerry Thomas. Thank you a lot. Yeah, no, there was a huge gap between... And the movie didn't have a huge... in retrospective, the movie didn't have a huge cultural impact. Most people just acted like it didn't happen. So it made it easy for them to start Doctor Who again from the ground up. But it's only been a year since Power of the Doctor, and they're essentially acting like the show's been gone for 10 years and now they're resetting it just because they want to appease Disney's streaming thing of being like, well, Series 14, no, we want Season 1. So, yeah, it's a weird idea there that they're just kind of changing the entire structure of the show to appease corporate overlord Disney rather than just having, Doctor Who has managed to do soft character reboots all the time, So, yeah, I will be doing one of these streams for the Christmas special. But yeah, I don't think Davis killed Doctor Who. I just think it was a weird choice to like end New Who and create a new era when. But that's the thing. You don't have to watch 14 seasons as homework. Like, you've never had to. Doctor Who is rarely ever that referential. Like, you see in this episode, if they bring back a villain, they usually just contextualize that for you. If they brought back Mel, they briefly contextualize she was a former companion, and for the fans, here's how she got back to where she is. Done. You didn't need to go back and watch season 24 to see her leave. It's just one of those things. You don't have to reset the show after 14 seasons or series. I just worry that it's kind of playing into this whole media literacy dumbing down, that people are scared of the idea of like, oh, what do you mean this basically anthology show has 14 series? Do I have to watch all of them? It's like, no, you don't. No, like, if you ask anyone about the show, even if you just jump on anything, like, people didn't, like, you go into like season 6, we're still getting a lot of fans coming on board. People weren't going, well, now I have to watch all 5 series. You just Google online, people go, yeah, no, you start from series 5, it's fresh. It's like, it's just weird that everything's so scared of numbers, and that we're more connected to the internet than ever. Like, this isn't say if they had brought back the Celestial Toymaker in season, was it 23, like they originally planned, before they had to change it into an arc, they wouldn't, like, the original story like thing didn't even exist back then. Like, you couldn't even really watch it. You couldn't find like, if they just brought back Celestial Toymaker, would have been like 20 odd years after his last appearance back in Classic Who, fans would have just still watched, like, new people still would have watched, like, they wouldn't have been able to know anything about him. Now you can just Google, who is this guy? Okay, that's who he is. Fine, I'm ready to watch the episode. You can just do like 2 seconds of just like, Doctor Who, where to start? Oh, I can start right now? Perfect. It's just weird. I feel like the show should have more faith in its audience than that. But it is what it is. Yeah, I suppose I do ask too much of the public in general. It's just, I just find it weird that we have to change the whole numbering system after a year and reset the show so much like this. And yeah, even just on a pedantic fan level, what do we call this now? I'm still going to call it Series 14, but yeah, you'd have no clue of what's up with River if they start Series 5. But that's the thing, they tell you. They explain. Amy, that's why you have the companions. The companions are there to ask questions. Like, you literally have Amy there like, who the fuck is this bitch? And then it's like, the Doctor goes, oh yeah, no, this is that mysterious woman I once met. Our travel, like, timelines are all weird and stuff. And then that's it. That's done. That's the explanation. You don't need to know explicitly what happens to her. They build upon that, and they drip feed you what they need to drip feed. That's the job of the showrunner, the writers. They're meant to keep continuity in that sense. You can't just constantly reset a thing. We don't know the emotional context. We don't know the Doctor has seen her die, but they do imply that so many times. They really always imply that. I just think the show doesn't need like an explicit reboot like it's going now. And yeah, like I mentioned, like, the companions are there to represent the audience. Like, you don't have to constantly change things. I'm going to keep calling it Series 14. I know people are going to call it Season 1, but to me, Season 1 is 1963. I'm not going to start calling things Season when we had 26 seasons of the show before, because that will just get confusing. It's much easier to call it Series 14. Because that would be like, yeah, I love Season 1 of Doctor Who. And it's like, which one? Implication that Missy might return. I didn't get an implication of that at all. Why? Like, where's the implication that Missy's coming back? I didn't see anything about that. Series 14. Yeah. I mean, season isn't necessarily an Americanization because the original run was called Seasons, so that wasn't really an American thing. But like modern times, it's more of an American thing, so it's weird, yeah. And there's no real, because you either get series or season. Like, I guess you can try and do the gold tooth in the same hand picking up contain the master. No, I just thought that was a reference to Lost of the Time Lords, where you had a woman with red painted nails picking up the ring, and it just being a random person. Original regeneration is called rejuvenation. Yeah, no, I never said anything about it. I mean, like, they originally called it like Seasons in Classic Who, and then that's why we got the thing now, because we're able to call it Series 1, which was the more modern thing. Every Doctor by regenerated. No, please tell me that's a joke. Jeez, please. Please tell me that's a joke. Okay, sure. And was the... I mean, it was on the unit tower, so... I mean, the framing of it was weird as well, because it looked like it was like a hand that wasn't grounded anywhere. Like, I might have to rewatch it a bit, because it was on the edge of the thing, and then suddenly you have this arm coming back, which to me looked like it should be coming from the sky, so that was weird. It's like someone floating up there. But yeah, it was probably just misremembering the framing of the scene. Oh no, someone else literally just said the thing, because it was right on the edge. I think low viewing figures. I mean, the viewing figures aren't even low contextually. Like, what was it? It was Starbeast got 7 point something million, like 7 day, and you go back and even some stuff in like Series 2, Series 3, Series 4 was pulling those kind of numbers, and that was back way back when that was like a different number. That was like a big number back then, and now that's still a big number because viewing habits have changed. People are viewing stuff online, they're viewing stuff delayed. Overnights, people are saying like, oh, it got 5 million views, that's Doctor Who's dead. 5 million views overnight is good these days. It's just the case. It's good. And oh god, yeah, no, I had seen people mentioning something about Davis saying every Doctor by regenerate, and now I guess people are specifying that is real, and I don't like the idea of that at all. Very much don't like the idea of that. Sonic Screwdriver did nothing in this episode. I like that. I didn't want the Sonic Screwdriver to do much. I didn't even really notice it being used. Can't compare the numbers because people don't watch. But no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a good thing. People don't watch much TV anymore, so it getting similar numbers to how it got back in when everyone did watch TV, that's actually a way that shows how good it is, like how well things are going. Was it just me, or did we get a little glimpse at the new Sonic Screwdriver in the Christmas special trailer? Like, I saw the 15th Doctor, he was like pointing a gadget at a door, and it sounded like the Sonic Screwdriver to me, but it looked like a TV remote, which was weird. So it's like, I hope they don't make a Sonic TV remote as the new Sonic Screwdriver. Yeah, it's just weird. The whole biogeneration, it just opens up way too many questions. I would love a Paul McGann miniseries, honestly. I would really love a Paul McGann miniseries with the 8th Doctor, but considering the BBC didn't even want him back for Day of the Doctor, then there's no chance they're going to give him a full-blown miniseries, are there? I do want to just understand what they're going for with the Whoniverse thing, because all we've had so far are the Tales from the TARDIS series, or Tales of the TARDIS. I just want to know, like, I want them to... I don't want like a big roadmap of being like, oh, here's the next 10 years, blah, 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 blah. I just want them to be like, oh, we're working on a couple of spin-offs. I just want them to be upfront about whether they're actually working on some spin-offs or not, because we're getting all these speculations about a UNIT spin-off, 8th Doctor spin-off, Sea Devils versus Silurian spin-off. I just want them to kind of be upfront as to the idea that they're working on a spin-off in general. I just want some news on that and what's going on with the Whoniverse. I just want to know so we can get excited, and not just everything being, oh, the Mirror said this, and it was written by that one person who's reliable in the Mirror, who also mixed up the Autons and the Slitheen in Series 1, so not that reliable. But yeah, I don't want like a billion spin-offs. I just want to know that they're at least doing one. What did I think about Series 1? At pains not to refer to continuity with this trilogy having loads. Well, this trilogy wasn't the start. This trilogy was the end. This trilogy was the epilogue of New Who. And Christmas Special is going to be the start of like New Who. That's season 1. That's essentially what 2005 was like. So this was essentially them being like, right, we're packaging up the last 18 years of the show. Right, yep, we're putting it in this neat box and we're filing it away. That's it now. It's done. And now they're just moving on. iPlayer's done like Doctor Who 2005 to 2022, and this is basically just the epilogue of that. So yeah, this is basically, now they're doing, the next section is 2023 onwards. So it's basically the epilogue of modern Doctor Who, which is kind of bittersweet to me because that's what I grew up with. But you know, if it works for the show long term, then I'm not going to complain about that. Because yeah, it's just pedanticness, isn't it? Already said people from New Who and Classic Who will turn up in New Who. Yeah, but I guess, you know, it's like Sarah Jane showed up in New Who and they just reintroduced her, so they'll probably just do that again. They'll probably just say, I'll just drop these hints. It's just this weird idea, isn't it? I'm not a fan of the reboot concept. But yeah, I think I've rambled quite a lot now. Any thoughts and commentary, everyone? I liked that. I thought that was a nice little... It was a lot more subtle social commentary. It didn't feel as kind of shoehorned in as some of the Starbeast stuff did, for better or for worse. You know, it felt like it flowed a little bit better as this idea of, oh, the Toymaker is weaponizing this negative element of the human race, and it was just a fun little idea. There was only like 1 or 2 scenes where it was really relevant, and yeah, I think it worked. I think it was a nice little thing. And yeah, I think I'll probably go for another like couple of minutes, and then I'll head off for the night so I can start working on my review properly. Who is the boss that was mentioned by the meet? We don't know yet. That's probably something for series 14 or 15. Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things, like, I don't like the idea of the reboot thing. I really don't. But it might be one of those things, like, it might be one of those things where it works out in the long run. I don't want to judge it now when we haven't seen the rest of the stuff. Oh, and also, yeah, smash that like button, everyone. Make sure to smash that like button. I've started playing around with like dropping that into videos, and I feel like it has definitely noticed. Like I feel like I've definitely noticed a level of more interaction in there. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to keep doing that in my videos. I always try and make it a little bit of a joke though. I don't just awkwardly, and I try and pace it to a part where you've actually seen some of the video, rather than just doing it right at the beginning. Feels a bit like I'm judging now. Judging what? I was literally just saying I want to wait and see how the reboot thing pans out. I don't want to jump to conclusions. I'm just saying I'm not a huge fan of the idea or like really how they're going about it, but it's something that will eventually... Oh, I think I just crashed for a second there. That was weird. But yeah, no, I think the reboot thing, it might pay off well. Andrew Luke, thank you for the big £2 super chat. And you heard the guy, smash that like button. And my stream overlay went weird again. It's weird. The chat box just always seems to just... There we go, caught up. I don't know why that keeps happening. Streamlabs is weird. Yeah. I'm not like necessarily tackling it. I just think it's a bit of a reductive and unnecessary thing for them to do. But yeah, like I said, it might work out well. Who knows? It's one of those things. I've always kind of thought that I try and wait for things to pan out before I judge them or criticize things. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Thanks, Ducky. Yeah, that was one of those where I hit that Chimbo thing. I was watching the episode, and as soon as I saw that button come out, I was like, that's it. That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm going to do it. Not sure how I'm going to... well, how can I do it in this episode? How can I incorporate the whole like button in this story? Because there's not really an obvious choice, is there? Oh, I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about how I can cheekily incorporate the like button. Probably something that the Toymaker does. Because I don't think there's like a button in this story, is there? So... Oh, yes! Thank you, Dizzy Bonkers. When he hammers the TARDIS, I'm going to hammer that like button. There we go. There we go. That's it. That is it. That is perfect. I didn't see any fan edits about last week's special, no. But yeah, I'm going to be heading off now. I hope you've all enjoyed this stream. I hope you had a kind of nice Saturday night hanging out, and I hope you enjoyed or didn't enjoy the Giggle, or however you felt about it. I hope you had an interesting time, watching it. And yeah, look forward to the review. I'm going to try and get it on Thursday as always. It's going to be a big one, so probably going to have to work my absolute arse off to make it. It's going to be a pain. But yeah, so I'm going to get started on that now. See you all on Thursday. See you then. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.